Hello, guys. My name is Manil, and today we are back with another video. And what are we going to be discussing today? Today, we're going to be reviewing the Game of Thrones episode. Another Game of Thrones episode, but this time we're going to be reviewing the specific scene with Theon at Winterfell when he overtook Winterfell with the Ironborn men that he supposedly was supposed to give to Robb Stark, but he betrayed them. And there's many reasons why he did. We don't want to get too much into it. But today this is going to be a character analysis of Theon and the scene between Theon and Maester Luwin at Winterfell. And it's a very interesting scene. It sort of culminates everything Theon felt at Winterfell and what he's been feeling during his time there. You know, predating this, when he was marching with Robb Stark in going south, and he sort of makes a plea with him to say, look, we need ships. Let me go to my father. My father will listen to me. And, he spoke with Robb Stark. Obviously, there wasn't a scene depicting this, but he created favorable terms, and this was a very calculated move. I mean, essentially sending word to Balon Greyjoy, Theon's Greyjoy's father, that, look, if you help me defeat the Iron Throne, meaning the Lannisters, I will make you kings of the Iron Islands. I will make you kings of the Iron Islands. And this is obviously proposed to Theon. So, because obviously that makes him a prince and then eventually a king, and his status gets raised, just like with Robb Stark gets raised as king in the north. Very calculating move, because throughout his whole life, he was just a hostage, a ward, just a Theon Greyjoy, a lord of Balon Greyjoy, but being a prince, then a king, elevates his status and sort of gives him that sort of gratification of all the people who sniggered behind my back calling me a prisoner. Now they can't look down on me. I'm looking down on them because I'm a prince, a king after my father dies. Very interesting, but he makes a mistake. He really underestimates the Ironborn culture. I mean, in reality, this would never happen. You would obviously have a sense of what, wherever you came from, what the culture was. I mean, think about it like this. He was 10 years old when he was taken hostage at Winterfell, okay? 10 years old, all right? I mean, you would like at 10, you would have a good sense of where you're from. I mean, anything before 6, okay? But anything after 6, I mean, you kind of get an idea. But maybe, maybe not. Maybe his teen years were more impressionable, and he really adopted the northern culture. And I think he really resonates with the northern culture. Otherwise, he would have been. I mean, it would have been evident. He would have shown just what Ironborn's just cruelty and this that. But no, when he was at Winterfell, he was a deviant person. But at least he sort of showed some honor and all the northern traits that northerners were considered honorable. Right? Even though he was, whoring and going to whorehouses and doing what Ironborns do, but there was a little bit of northern culture that was impressed upon him. And he goes to the Iron Islands, goes to his father. Father, look, I'm here, your son and heir. What happens? He gets rebuked. His father doesn't care. He's his heir, because this Ironborn cultures, after whoever the Lord is, after they die, the eldest son doesn't get the you can see the lordship or the throne, whatever you want to call it. There's a king's moot, meaning everybody, all the high lords of the Iron Islands, come together to choose their ruler. It's very much like Dothraki, where the strength is. I mean, being the eldest son does give you preference. It does help you when the choosing. There is some Westerosi feudalism in there. But there's also Dothraki, where the strength is really looked upon highly. I mean, no one's going to choose you if you. Doesn't matter if you're the oldest. If you show weakness and if you display weakness, they're not going to choose you as the next ruler. So he did not understand that because in the North, it's very much like the Westerosi feudalism. The eldest gets all the titles, gets all the acclaim, gets all the praise, no matter who he is and no matter what kind of person he is. So he was expecting that. And you know what? He came in with a really big surprise that it was not like that. And he came to realize that his sister was actually looked very highly upon because she grew up with Balon, their father. You grew up with the Ironborn culture. I mean, this is not Theon's fault. His father gave him up when he rebelled and lost. And when he kneeled, bent the knee to Robert Baratheon, he presented his son as a ward for good behavior and also not to kill him as well. But yeah, and this is not Theon's fault, but and you can see he's trying to prove himself, because he grew up in Winterfell. People always sniggering behind his back about telling, "Oh, the son of Lord Balon Greyjoy is only heir, now prisoner at Winterfell." How embarrassing! So he grew up throughout his whole life trying to prove himself as a worthy person to be respected. He wants respect, but he's not getting the deferential respect, meaning just blind respect. Just because you're the eldest, you should just you should be given all this respect to claim no matter what. It doesn't work like that in the Iron Islands, the Iron Islands. But anyways, he's trying to prove himself, so he betrays Robb Stark. That was a mistake to betray the brother you grew up with, a person you considered a brother. You betrayed him just to prove to your father, who rebuked you right at the beginning. And you can clearly see Theon is not that ironborn type of person. He's not really adept to the culture. I mean, but he doesn't realize his own faults, like how he's just not personally, characterally align with the cultures and values, but he just does it anyways. He wants to align himself anyways with the culture just to prove himself. That's a mistake, right? Because he's not understanding, he's not taking consideration of who he is. And he's just like, I don't care. I don't care if this doesn't really resonate with me. There's pillaging and reaving and all this other stuff, all this strongman stuff. Even if it doesn't resonate with me, I'm just gonna. I don't care. I'm here to prove myself. Even if it doesn't resonate with me, I'm here to prove myself. So he does that. Attacks Torrhen Square. Then eventually they send an army. He destroys them. He takes Winterfell by climbing over the walls. He sent a main army to Torrhen Square. Then he sent a detachment with him in it to Winterfell to overtake it, because he knew Torrhen Square was going to be an easy grab. They will send all the armies because every army was going down north with Robb, so there was only be a limited amount of men to be sent to Torrhen Square that he knew easily that the Ironborn can just overrun, which they did. And he knew that he can just overrun Winterfell because there wouldn't be many guards defending Winterfell, because they would have sent everything to Torrhen Square to defend Torrhen Square, because they did not know how calculated Theon was and how he knew that they would send everything they got without defending Winterfell, because they never expected them to overtake Winterfell. They would have thought it would have been one piece at a time, not this was just a distraction. Torrhen Square was just a distraction just to get to Winterfell. They didn't realize that. And Bran Stark, he's young. I mean, but Sir Roderick, he's a proven commander. He should have sort of seen it, but he didn't. So he overtakes Winterfell. Theon overtakes Winterfell. Interesting stuff, right? But this is the thing. He overtakes Winterfell and he does really dumb things. Like, first of all, he kills Sir Roderick. That was really dumb. Now, why was that really dumb? Well, he was a castellan of Winterfell. He was highly respected amongst the Starks. And he did it because of the pressure he felt from one guy, that was sort of respected among the Ironborn. But let's say collectively he was pressured by among all of them. Because usually, and why did he kill him? Oh, he sort of disrespected Theon by spitting in his face. Yes, that was very disrespectful. and he threatened to imprison him because of. But his sort of companion, sort of you can say a guide, he sort of takes Theon and said, "Look, you gotta kill this guy because he disrespected you in front of everybody, and you gotta take this guy out. You gotta put him out of commission." Well, Theon's like, his first reaction was like, "I'm just gonna imprison him," which he should have, but he's like, "No, he's got to pay the iron price for what he did." And then he says, "Look, Sir Roderick, I sentence you to death." Then Maester Lewin comes like, "Look, he's worth more to you alive than dead." He should have looked, and he knew he was right. He knew Maester Lewin's right, but what happens? He takes 1 second look from Maester Lewin to the other guys, and he sees the disapproval in his eyes, and then he says, "No, he's dead." That was a mistake. He should have listened to his gut reaction. He should have. But why did he do it? Because he was trying to prove himself. You know, there's so many people throughout history who try to prove themselves, and they make really dumb decisions. And it really backfires on them, and it really costs a lot in the long run. It's very, very sad. And then what else does he do? He goes on. Brandon Stark and his brother Rickon escape Winterfell. They escape Winterfell with sort of this wildling woman who was captured, and it was sort of a prisoner, but not really. She escaped with her and sort of the stable boy, also the dim-witted one, Hodor. They escape Winterfell. They take whatever rations they could. I mean, they didn't really take rations. I mean, because they would have to go to the kitchens. They would have risked being seen. So they were hiding in the crypts of Winterfell. And then once they saw the chance, they escaped during the middle of the night. Theon finds out about this and is, "Look, we got to go after these guys." And he sends out a hunt. Sends out his best hounds. He goes on the hunt with them. What happens? And Maester Lewin comes with them. What happens? They don't find them. I think, I don't know if they were intentionally misled, but I don't know if Bran and Rickon and the other woman and the guy just went because they went to this farm where there was 2 peasant boys, and these 2 peasant boys were actually sent by Bran to help out with this local farmer, and to also the farmer to give them food and shelter and all this. And they stopped there, probably for some food, and then they left, you know. But that's where the trail ended, was to that farm. And I mean, the trail didn't go anywhere from there. And I mean, the freaking guy, what's that guy's name? Dagmar, the companion, the guide I was telling you about, tells Theon, "Look, send the Maester away. Just send him away." And I think Theon knew, okay, Maester Lewin, go. And then Maester Lewin's pleading with him, "Don't do anything irrational. You know, they're just boys and this, that." And then what happens? He displays burnt bodies. I don't even, like in the show, he wasn't even aware that they sort of burnt the bodies. But basically, these bodies were just the 2 peasant boys, and they were burnt alive, so no one could know. No, I'm pretty sure Theon was aware. I mean, in the show, he looks like he wasn't aware, but in the books, it's pretty clear. No, later on in the show, he does admit that, you know, he killed the 2 peasant boys and burnt the bodies so they wouldn't be identified but be betrayed as Bran Rickon. He did it as a show of strength. You know, he did it as a show of strength. But it was really dumb. Why would you do that? Because he didn't want it to be shown as weak. And he didn't want to show people that he had these 2 boys and they were able to escape. He didn't want that. So he wanted to say, look, he wanted to be seen as cruel rather than weak. Really dumb, because that just made him just even more despicable amongst the Northerners. I mean, you kill 2 heirs to the north, I mean, there's just no going back. I mean, that was really dumb. He should have, like, if he lost them, he should have said, "We lost them." instead of just betraying that they killed them, because it's better to have them, obviously you wouldn't want them captured and alive, but if they escaped, they escaped, and that's it. You don't want to you don't want to say I killed them because they ran away, just to cover up. You don't want to say I killed them because they ran away just to cover up that they escaped. That's a bad idea, because this is not Sir Roderick, who, he's respected amongst the Stark family, but he's not a Stark. You kill these two Stark boys, Rob Stark is going to show you no mercy. No one's going to show you any type of mercy. I mean, it's just going to be no holds bars, and they're going to just, man, they're going to they're going to do a number on you big time. So that's what happens. That's what happens. Unfortunate. Theon. It's very, very sad with Theon. And then afterwards, it's just a long, long story. Oh, Theon. So that was it. Just wanted to do that sort of character analysis with Mace. So what happens is Theon is basically stuck at Winterfell, and he's basically, his sister came before this, and he sort of pleads with his sister to send, men. Well, he sent letters to bring men to Winterfell to help guard it, 500, but she didn't, because she knew they would never be able to hold the North with just 500 men. I mean, the North can just easily raise 1,000 and more. I mean, but definitely 1,000. It would have definitely been a 2-to-1 odds. She knew this. She knew we have no claim over here. No, there's no support for Ironborns where you can gather up men, where you can raise troops and men. They can't do that. Their power is in the seas. She knew this. She did it. She didn't bring any. She just came there to save his brother, but he refused. He was being arrogant. He was trying to prove himself. He was trying to prove himself as a real Ironborn and real strong man. And he didn't listen to his sister's wise advice. And what did she do? She leaves. She pleads with Theon. Come, Theon. This is not where, you killed 2 Starks that would have been, Lords of Winterfell if Robb Stark died. Now they're not going to be any. You killed them, and the entire North is going to raise up against you. Even just evading Winterfell, the entire North was going to raise up against them. But this is like a whole new other level. He didn't listen. He was too arrogant. And then after she leaves, he's pondering about in his chambers, his room, and he realizes, I mean, at this point, I don't think he realizes he made a mistake. I mean, he's just moping about, talking with Maester Lewin, saying, send more ravens, tell them to bring more men. Tries to get Maester Lewin to send ravens to Iron Islands to his father to help bring more men to Winterfell. Maester Lewin says, look, you killed all the ravens. And sort of in this situation, Maester Lewin sort of kind of comes down to his level and tries to reason with him. And Theon is complaining about how he grew up in Winterfell and how he felt like he was always mistreated, considered a prisoner, always talked down by a prisoner, even though he kind of wasn't a prisoner. I mean, he grew up with the Stark children. He grew up as any other person, with respect. But people, whenever they were trying to hurt you, they would try to obviously pick at things that were your weak points. And with Theon was, because he was a ward, they would call him a prisoner and this, that, and how lucky you should thank the Starks for being their prisoner. So he was always bitter about that. And Maester Lewin's like, look, Theon, you're not the man you're trying to pretend to be. This strong man character is not who you are. And he gives him advice. He's like, look, Theon, you should run. There is 500 Northmen waiting outside of your walls, and you only have 20 men. There's no possible way you can defend against that. You'll be overwhelmed with just 100. Leave. And he's like, but why? If I run, first of all, the entire Winterfell, Winterfell is encircled. Even if I made it past the lines, I'll be seen as a coward. by my father and by the Iron Islanders, I'll be known as the Greyjoy who ran. The Greyjoy who ran. Who cares? At least you're free. I mean, who cares if they consider? I mean, look at Balon Greyjoy. He 9 years ago, he started a rebellion. He considered himself a king of the Iron Islands. And what happened with him? Robert Baratheon, all the lords of Westeros came to his bloody gates, overran it, came into Pike, came into his home, breached his home, and made him bend the knee in front of everybody, all the High Lords, and gave his son away. I think willingly too. I don't know if it was they demanded of it or I think he willingly gave his son. If that's not embarrassing, I don't know what is. So just the fact that you feel like you're going to be embarrassed by just running away with an encircled castle that there's no way of winning, that's not cowardly. You're being smart. But he was too prideful in that moment. He was just too prideful. And then Mace was like, "Well, take the black, join the Night's Watch, But I'm like, dude, go be free." And he's like, "Well, Jon Snow, after he knows what I've done, Jon Snow is just gonna." And the Night's Watch is a very honorable order. He could have done well. What actually was a great idea, but Theon's like, "Look, Jon Snow finds out what I've done. He's gonna kill me, or he might do something about it. I don't want to deal with that." And then Theon's like, "Okay, I have no choice. I'm gonna fight this out." And he's willing to die for it. Now, I thought that was really honorable and really, I admire that. He's like, "Okay, I have these choices, but you know what? I took this council. I made the decision to show who I am, to be an Iron Islander. I'm going to die as an Iron Islander." Now, that takes courage and guts to go out dying for what you believe in. Not a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people take the easy way out, or they take ways out that doesn't end with them dying. But Theon was courageous in that moment. I really admire it. He said, "I'm going to do that." But what happens? He makes a very nice speech in front of his men. And unbeknownst to him, unknowingly to him, he didn't realize that the men already made a pact with, I think, who was leading the siege. I think it was one of the bastards, Ramsay Bolton. He made a pact with Ramsay that, look, if you give, I think the pact was, if you give me Theon, I'll let you guys go back home. They're like, "Hell yeah, we want to go back home. We know this is a losing cause." And what do? After he make his big long speech about how we're gonna go out dying like Iron Islanders and we're gonna fight this to the bitter end, even though we're all gonna die. Let's do it! Rah rah rah! Yeah. The second he ends the speech, or is close to ending the speech, with him yelling, "Ah!" Boom! Gets hit in the head. Puts a cover over his head. I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. One of the person who was like his sort of guide, mentor, not guide, it was his guide, said, "Look, hey, I was going to end it earlier, but I thought it was a good speech. So, and then he gets captured at the Dread Fort with his bats, with the bastard of the Dread Fort, Ramsay Bolton, or Ramsay Snow. And that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. But anyways, I really appreciate you guys' my character analysis. Well, mostly the scene analysis, but character analysis as well. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for always tuning in. I really, really appreciate it. And as always, and if you guys are interested in more Game of Thrones content, please put it down in the comments and let me know what you want me to review next, scene-wise, character-wise. And yes, Theon is Theon. He's an interesting character. So, anyways, thank you all. Thank you so much. And what do I say always? Be safe, be healthy, and yes, I'll see you next time.